Well, I hope you had a good afternoon. Some of you got rain.
Amen.
Some people like me didn't. Well, I understand it, but I guess that's the way, like somebody told me, that's the way the cookie crumbles. Or that's the way the mop flops. Okay, I'll move on. Oh, wait. Well, tonight, I want to talk to you a little bit about going out on a limb. Going out on a limb. Jesus was actually on his way to the cross, and he passed through this town. You might have heard of it, Jericho. Anybody ever heard of Jericho? He passed through a town called Jericho. And like a Rose Day parade, all these people to witness the passing of Jesus, they were gathered, hundreds and thousands of people lined the streets that day. And they saw Jesus with their own eyes, but only one of them came face to face with Jesus. That was one of them that actually came out on a limb. And his name was Zacchaeus. You might know the story about Zacchaeus. And he reached out to Jesus literally by going out on a limb for him. You ever heard the term? Well, I'm going to go out on a limb and try to get this. Or I'm going to go out on a limb and try to buy this. I'm going to go out on a limb and get married. Anyway, go out on a limb.
You're already married.
And, well, I went out on a limb. Okay. All right. Now, Zacchaeus went out on a limb. He goes out on the limb and he's stretched out and he's trying to just see Jesus. He's just trying to get a glimpse of it. Well, let's look at this. Luke 19, verses 1 through 10. And Jesus entered and passed through Jericho, and behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus, which was the chief among the publicans, and he was rich. And he sought to see Jesus who he was, and could not for the press, because he was little of stature. And he ran before and climbed up in the sycamore tree to see him, for he was to pass that way. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and saw him and said to him, Zacchaeus, make haste and come down, for today I must abide in thy house. And he made haste, and he came down and received him joyfully. And when they saw it, they all murmured, saying that he was to be a guest with a man that is a sinner. And Zacchaeus stood and said unto the Lord, O Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor, and if I have taken anything from any man by false accusation, I restore him 4 times. And Jesus said to him, This day is salvation has come to this house, for as much as he also is a son of Abraham, for the Son of Man is come to seek and to save that which was lost. Anybody ever remember the song? Well, let me see who it's by. I wrote it down. Maybe it was by Elise Leslie. It was called Zacchaeus. Talked about. Well, I'll give you an example. When I was a child, I used to stand in the front row. I was about 3 or 4 years old, and I stood in front of about 500 people in Parkersburg, West Virginia, and I got it on tape. And I would stand there and have my thumb like this, and I would say, Zacchaeus was a wee little man was he. He climbed up in a sycamore tree, for the Lord he wanted to see. And he said, Zacchaeus, you come down from there, for I'm going to your house today. I'm going to your house today. Anybody heard that song? Okay. All right. Are we filming? Take that off. But that little song I remember from when I was a child, and I remember watching myself years later on film. I don't know why I had the thumb thing going on and the bounce, but I remember that song, Zacchaeus was a wee little man, and a wee little man was he. Unlike others we have looked at, even most of the people we can read about in the Gospels, here's the difference. This man didn't have any needs. He was rich. He had everything he needed. He didn't need food. He didn't need any kind of money or anything like that. He was, I don't know, had lots of friends. He had power. He had wealth. He was fine. He didn't need healing. This man just simply wanted to see Jesus. We read about a bunch of different stories in the Bible about people that had problems, and they, like the woman with the issue of blood, she touched the hem of his garment and was healed. Or read about the people in the Bible where Jairus' daughter was dead and he raised her up, where Lazarus was dead and he raised him up, and where Bartimaeus was deaf and Jesus, he made him hear again. Or I'm sorry, he was blind and made him see again. And so we read about these stories, but this man's kind of a little bit different. He didn't really need anything on the outside, but he needed something inside. He was seeking God for something that he didn't have. He had everything else, but he was in need of a heart transplant. And even though Zacchaeus was living in the land with the rest of his peers, he knew something was missing from his life, and he listened to his heart. And I think today, how many people ignore what their heart tells them? How many times do people sit in church services and God's tugging on their heart to tell them to pray, go to the altar? There's people that sit amongst us that need to know Jesus as their Savior, and what do? They ignore the Holy Spirit within them. They ignore their heart. I believe my battery's dead. My battery's dead. Turn this on, I guess, for this right this minute. Sorry, folks. That's how the cookie crumbles. That's how the mop flops. They ignored Jesus Christ when he is telling them to come. And there's a still small voice, if you think about it. Has anybody ever heard a still small voice inside of you? When you're sitting there and you're at church, or maybe you're at home and you're doing your Bible study, and it's not sometimes it's not a loud, audible voice that comes down and says, "Hey, you, I'm talking to you." It can be a still small voice, just as Elijah heard. Just when he was up on the mountain and the fire came, the earthquake came, and everything was happening, and God says, "I'm not in that, I'm not in that, I'm not in that, but let me give you what I am in." And some people don't listen here. They listen here. And this is the devil's workshop. Between your ears is the favorite place for the devil. And he likes to come in. Now again, if you're a Christian and you're a child of God and you have blood applied to your life, you cannot be demon possessed. But you can be demon oppressed, and suppressed, and depressed. And so that's why this makes this right here so important, that this can be doing one thing, and this could be doing another. And Zacchaeus didn't follow this, he followed this. And so our hearts cry out sometimes, and we have to listen to that still small voice in which God's Spirit gives to us. The first thing we'll look at is you have to put yourself in a position to see Jesus Christ. You have to put yourself in a position to do that sometimes. Luke, if you go back to 3 and 4, and he sought to see Jesus, who he was, and could not from the press, because he was a little of stature. You know what he was? He was a wee little man, just as the song. He was short. He was a wee little man. Now, we don't really know what that means. That could mean he was a wee little man like, 5'10", or it could mean he was a wee little man that's like 3 foot tall. We don't know. All we know is he couldn't see over what was going on. He couldn't see over the people. So Zacchaeus decided, I'm going to find a way to see Jesus. So what did he do in verse 4? He ran before and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was to pass that way. So before Jesus came, it said, for he was to pass that way. So Jesus hasn't came yet. So he knew he was coming that way. So he ran and got up in the tree and just waited for Jesus to come by. And sometimes you know what you have to do? You have to get in your prayer closet. You have to get your Bible out. And it might take a little bit, but you got to wait for Jesus to pass by. You've got to wait for the Spirit of God to come to you. You've got to wait for I know when I was a kid, we used to call out people to be baptized in the Holy Ghost. It used to happen. And I remember every service seemed like we would get down and they would have an altar call and they would say, if anyone needs to be baptized in the Holy Ghost, come on down to the altar. And there would be 15, 20 people come down to the altar, and you would have people praying for 3 hours. Anybody remember that? To receive the baptism of the Holy Ghost. 3 hours, sweat dripping off of them. People's praying with them, sweat dripping off of them. Well, now it's an inconvenience. Now it can be an inconvenience to pray until sweat drops off your forehead. But I don't think Zacchaeus cared if sweat was dripping off of him when he was up in that tree. I don't think that Zacchaeus cared if he got sap on his hands. I don't think Zacchaeus cared if something stuck him in the side. All he cared about was seeing Jesus. And sometimes we have to press and we have to push. I like to call something, if I was going to have a prayer meeting, if I was going to call a prayer meeting, I would call it push prayer. Why? Because I would say, push means pray until something happens. P-U-S-H. Pray until something happens. Too many times we pray until it's inconvenient and then we stop. But thank God Zacchaeus kept climbing until he got up to the top. And just as Zacchaeus pushed his way in so he could see Jesus, he pushed his way through the crowd and up a tree and climbed and got to the top and hung off a limb just so he could see Jesus pass by. Because of that, Jesus did what? He met him there. He met him there. He didn't leave him hanging out on a limb. No pun intended. The first step is you and I have to take the first step. We don't put the burden of proof on someone else. Don't put the burden of proof even on God. No one is able to give you Jesus Christ. You have to go get Jesus. I can preach all day long about the Holy Spirit. I can preach all day long about the power. I can preach all day long about the blood. But it's up to you to make the decision whether you want the blood, whether you want the power, whether you want the Holy Spirit. No man, no evangelist, nobody can get up behind this pulpit and give you the Spirit. It doesn't happen. You have to get the Spirit from God. You have to feel Him yourself. Visions of Him is sought through personal hunger and pursuit. That's what I think about as the pursuit of Zacchaeus, the hunger that he had. You may see Christ-like character in his followers, yet that must remain insufficient. If you go after the real thing, the real Him, He'll meet you there. Don't let anything stand in your way. Zacchaeus found a way around his, now this is a pun intended, shortcomings. Wheel man, shortcomings? Okay. He did find a way around his shortcomings. He found a way to go there. And as I said this morning, we put God in the box and we say, God, I'll do it, but you've got to do this for me first. God, I'll commit to you. I'll do what you're telling me to do. I'll stick it out, but you've got to do this for me, and then I'll do it. Sounds like we try to play God. We try to pretend that we need to tell God what He's supposed to do. We can't give God an ultimatum. I mean, Zacchaeus could have stayed home. He could have stayed home and said, well, if Jesus wants to save me, He'll come save me. And a lot of times in church, I feel like you've got people that sit in church pews all over the world, and they sit there, and God, if you want to move me, move me. But I don't read that in the Bible. I read where it says, if we hunger and thirst after Him, we'll be filled. I read in the Bible where, if my people which are called by my name will humble themselves and seek my face, and I will hear their land. I hear where we have to do our part, and He'll do His.
That's right.
Zacchaeus did his part, and God did His. See, when you get off your high horse, when you're on high horse, when you're riding your own high horse, you know what you find? When you finally get off of it, you realize it wasn't a great big horse, a stallion. It was a hobby horse. Because if you ride your own horse, you ain't going nowhere. You think you are, but you're really not. You're just riding a hobby horse. Get off of it and get on God's. Have you ever noticed how there are dogs that have what I call a little dog disease? I love little dogs. But I have a 110-pound Rottweiler, and Chihuahuas try to eat her up. And if it wasn't for me holding her collar back and pulling her up in my arms, there'd be some dead Chihuahuas. They come out like they're the biggest dog in the world. I'm not down to Chihuahuas. I'm just saying, here's a little 5-pound dog, if that, running up to a 110-pound dog. My paw, her paw is bigger than the dog is. And she can step on the dog and kill it. And it barks at her like it's going to eat her alive. And she's just staring at it like, one more step, buddy. And you're going to be chow time. They have that little, it's kind of like a little dog disease. They've always got something to prove. Zacchaeus was past that. He didn't have anything else to prove anymore. He had power. You got to understand, he had wealth. He had power. He had friends. He knew people in high places. He lived in the most luxurious town. He had everything you could ask for. But he was missing this. He was missing the desire and the pursuit of the Most High God. He was lacking the passion inside of him. He does something that just invited others to laugh at him. He does something that people mocked at him and laughed at him, being up in the tree, pointing at him, making fun of him. He does something that magnified his weakness of being a short little man. And he does all this to see Jesus. But it got Jesus' attention. You know what I found? I found that if we'll humble ourselves, the humbler we get, the more we feel. The less pride we have, and the more humble we have inside of us, the more we get filled. Too many times there's a lot of pride going on. Not enough being humble. You know what? I hate to tell you, but Jesus can't do nothing with pride. He can't use it. He don't want it. He don't need it. Pride does what? It goes before the fall. And if you've got pride, and pride's all you've got, you're about to fall. Be careful, lest you fall. Second thing I want to look at is Jesus always has time for the lost. Always. He always has time for the lost. You know what I like to think? I thought about this today, and this really hit home with me. Think about this. A lost person is like a lightning rod for God's grace. It's just like a lightning rod sitting there waiting for God's grace to light it up. I like to think of that. Because if you think about it, something that gets struck by lightning will never be the same. Well, when Jesus strikes you with grace, you're never going to be the same. You're never going to be the same. They're a lightning rod. Lightning strikes again. God steps into the life of a human being and changes them for all eternity. And hundreds of people around that day, when Zacchaeus was up in the tree, hundreds of them were standing around, hundreds of them were doing their own thing, and hundreds of people didn't receive anything from Jesus' walk through town that day. But one person we know did. And that was the one that went out on the limb. He pursued Jesus with everything he had. He gave it all he had to get close to Jesus. He was ripe for the harvest. And Jesus had this man in his view. You see, Jesus was approaching his final week. He had a lot of pressures that were fixing to bear. He had a lot of deadlines, so to speak. He was getting ready to have a meeting. His last journey to Jerusalem, Jesus' last ascent, began on the eastern side of the Jordan. After the crossing the river, he entered into Jericho, then ascended to the mountain of Bethany in Jerusalem, and there Jesus was crucified. The lost, the desperate, the hungry, the hurting, they all pursued Jesus. And Jesus knew them by name. You know, it's odd that when Jesus came to Zacchaeus, he didn't say, "Hey, you, get out of the tree." He didn't say, "Hey, man, get out of the tree." No, he knew his name. He knew his name. Zacchaeus has never met Jesus before, but Jesus knew him. And you might be sitting here tonight and you say, "God, out of all the people in the world that are praying to you, out of all the people that are going through situations, out of all the people that are having problems, how do you hear me?" Trust me, He knows your name. He knows your name. There's nothing you're facing that he can't look down and say, Dougie, I know who you are. I know your name. Nathan, I know your name. Larry, I know your name. He knows our name. He can look down at our situations and our problems, and He's going to know our name before we even pray to Him. He knows what we're going through. Now look at verse 5 right here of this same chapter. And when Jesus came to the place, He looked up and saw him and said, here we go, Zacchaeus, make haste, and come down, for today I must abide at that house. Now there is a lot I could preach on here. Let me just give you one more nugget. When Jesus called out your name, guess what He did? He went to your house. He come to your house. And thank God when He came to your house, He did some house cleaning.
Amen.
Do you know what the name Zacchaeus means? It means pure. If you look up the name Zacchaeus, it means pure. But boy, this guy let his parents down from what they really wanted him to be. The name is pure. Here's the deal. Way back when, they used to name the children something and had a reason behind that why they named it. Like it meant something. For instance, I was named after my father, which I'm greatly honored to be named after my father. But there was a deeper meaning behind names back then, just to be honored by your father or mother, to be named after them. It went deeper. They actually researched the name. They named you something because of what your name meant. And His name meant pure. Jesus, when He looked up at Zacchaeus, He didn't see a crooked tax collector in the tree. He saw a man who could live up to His name, pure. And when Jesus looks at you and I, when He looked at you and I don't believe He's seen necessarily sin. And when He looks at us today, I don't believe He looks at our faults. I believe He looks at our possibility, what we can be. Because if all He did was look at my faults, He would never save me. If all He did was look at my sin, if all He did today is look at my shortcomings and look at how bad of a person I can be, or look at things I mess up on, I wouldn't have a prayer. Thank God He doesn't look at the past. He looks at the future. Thank God He doesn't see me in hell. He sees me in heaven. And I'm thankful that He does that. Jesus saw a man that could be generous with his money. Jesus was willing to reach out his hand in friendship to this man who was despised. Everybody despised this man. He was a tax collector. I don't know about you, but I'm not a huge fan of the IRS. I'm not in love with them. I'll put it that way. So you got to love everybody. I love them. I dislike their ways. I don't like the IRS that much. That's kind of what this man was. He would go to your house. Can you imagine? Let me just put this in perspective. Can you imagine a wee little man coming up to your house? Let's just say he's 3 foot tall. Coming up to you, knocking on your door. You feel like you're on Willy Wonka in the chocolate factory with a Oompa Loompa coming up to your door. And he looks at you and says, "Hey, mister, I need your tax money." Just want to give him a kick him out of the way. Man, you can be a good football. All these people despised him, but Jesus loved him. Jesus didn't reject him. Isaiah 59:1. Behold, the Lord's hand is not shortened, that it cannot save, neither his ear heavy, that it cannot hear. He hears, and He can still save the worst person that you can think of. Jesus always knows right where the sinner is. He walked right up to the tree where he was perched and called him by name. And Jesus wanted to relate to Zacchaeus on a personal level. So what do you think they did at Zacchaeus' house? Do you think they went in and Jesus got up and started telling him, "You're a sinner, Zacchaeus. You're a horrible person, Zacchaeus. You're the worst man I've ever seen, Zacchaeus"? I don't believe he done that. I don't believe Jesus went into his house and started preaching at him. Because I could almost say Jesus may be saying, "Hey, you want to grab something to eat? Let's sit down and talk." Why? Because Jesus is a personal Christ. He's a personal Savior. You know what I find? I don't find when I pray to Jesus Him always beating me on the head. I find Jesus loving on me. I find Jesus speaking to me. I find Jesus giving me hope that I didn't have before I prayed. I find Jesus giving me peace that no one else can give. That's the kind of Christ I serve. This is the same Christ. I believe that Jesus, let me tell you what, I believe Jesus went into to Zacchaeus' house, and I believe Jesus just loved him. I believe He just loved on him. I believe He walked in and He probably sat down and they probably ate some bread with olive oil. And I could see Jesus saying, "Hey, Zach, tell me about your job. Tell me about how your job's going. And how's things going?" And before he knows it, Zacchaeus breaks down and begins to cry and says, "I've done wrong. I've done wrong, Jesus. But I'll tell you what, Jesus, I'm gonna make it right. I'm gonna give all my riches. And the people I took from, I'm gonna give them 4 times what I've stolen." I believe Jesus showed love in a situation. There was a person one time that had done some wrong things against me. And they come and met with me sometime. It's been a few years ago, a couple years ago. And they met with me. And my first intent was to rake them over the coals and what I call rip maneuver. I was upset, I was angry, I was mad. But the Lord told me, just listen to what they have to say and love them. So they sat down in my office. I said, "What can I do for you?" They began to talk. And I began to just listen. And I kind of showed interest in what they were saying to me. And really, still deep down inside, I was still hurting because they'd done me wrong. And this person sat there and broke in front of me. And before it was over, we were crying together in the office because of what he had done. Sometimes, well, all the time, we should take Jesus as an example. Understand that Zacchaeus was a person that nobody liked. But Jesus loved him. And Jesus took him in. Sat down with him, communed with him, dined with him. And Zacchaeus made a life change to Jesus Christ that day. He made a conversion. He made a changed man. And finally, third, salvation changes your heart. Look at verse 8. We just talked about it. Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, "Behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor, and if I have taken anything by any man from false accusation, I will restore it back to him 4 times." Upon Zacchaeus' confession, his declaration, Jesus could see a change of heart immediately had come to pass. Do you remember the time when you got saved and you felt a change immediately? I feel like it's like David said in Psalm 51, 12 and 13, "Restore to me the joy of thy salvation, uphold me with thy free spirit." Otherwise, give me that feeling again that I had when you first came in. Give me the feeling I had when you took my sins away. I like the song that says, "All my burdens were rolled away, and I'll shout it loud forevermore." I think about that when you become changed inside of you. Jesus could see Zacchaeus. There was a stronghold inside of him that was taking control of Zacchaeus' life. And Jesus was able, by love and by grace, He was able to take it and break the stronghold down. He made a life change. Zacchaeus made a life change. If you think about a simmering pot, if you put it on the stove, and you think about a simmering pot, let's say you got it on, from 1 to 10, like my stove's 1 to 9 or something like that. Say you got it on 7, and it's starting to boil a little bit, and then you crank it on up to 9, and it gets even hotter. And it's getting ready to boil over. It's getting ready to boil over. Well, this is kind of the same thing. He had guilt. Zacchaeus had guilt beginning to boil up inside of him under the lid of his heart. And Jesus came in and with love, He turned it up to 9. And it just began to boil over inside, knowing that he had to make a life change. He had to make a decision for God. Sometimes we suffer the same thing when we get tempted. We have to make sure we're doing the right things in the areas of our life. Patsy, you can begin to play out just about done. Jesus knows our hearts, and He's able to break down any stronghold that we have. He led a man where he wanted to go, but didn't know how to get there. See, Zacchaeus knew what he needed, but Zacchaeus didn't know how to get there. Zacchaeus knew there was something different inside of him. He had something wrong inside, but he didn't know quite how to fix it. Jesus led him to that place where he could make a life change. He wanted to be free. Jesus gave him hope and power. It was a change. He understood that faith was more than simple belief. In fact, I think about Patrick Henry. Patrick Henry, if you remember Patrick Henry saying, "Give me liberty or give me death." There's something else Patrick Henry said. I want you to listen to this. He said this concerning riches. "I have now disposed of all my property to my family. There is one thing more I wish to give them, and that is faith in Jesus Christ. If they had that, and I had not given them a single shilling, they would have been rich. And if they had not that, and I had given them all the world, they would be poor indeed." We can give people around us money. We can give them everything they can actually ask for. But unless we're giving them Jesus, we're not giving them anything. We can give them everything that we think we should give them. We can take them and go out and eat with them. We can take them and be a kind person to them. We can give them jobs. We can give them homes. We can give them whatever. But unless we are giving them hope in Jesus, we're really not giving them nothing at all. So that's the only thing that matters. Father Matthew Henry wrote this: "Those that sincerely desire a sight of Christ will use the proper means for gaining the sight of Him, will break through a deal of difficulty and opposition, and will be willing to take pains to see Him." God wants to know this person. He wants us to know Him. Something I want you to think about. We say sometimes we want God to know us. God, I want you to know me. Folks, God already knows you. He knows everything about you. Everything. Why? Because God created you. He knows your bad stuff and your good stuff. He knows your areas of weakness, your areas of strength. It's not a matter of God know me. It's a matter of God, let me know you better. I don't need God to know me. He knows me. But I want to know Him better. And it doesn't matter how long you've been a Christian. Brother Nathan's been a Christian for 50 years. But I'm sure he'll tell you he can still know God better. No matter how long you've been saved, you can always know Him more. We should all be on a pursuit. We should all be like Zacchaeus and not let anything get in our way. Nothing tough, nothing rough, nothing can stand in my way of pursuing Him. We can't bend, we can't break under pressure, under things getting rough and tough. We have to stay focused and committed on what He's told us to do. He'll meet you there. Will you bow your heads with me and close your eyes? Tonight, I realize probably 100% of you are saved in Jesus Christ. So the part of the message that you need a heart change, a heart transplant, is probably not going to apply to you. Thank God for that. Thank God you're saved. But I feel like there's another area that doesn't apply to us. And that is the passion and desire to long to be closer to Him. To want to know Him. And I believe tonight that there are several here, I hope, will come to this altar and you'll just pray for a little bit, as long as you'd like, and ask God to help you to know Him more. If it takes climbing out and going out on a limb, then so be it. You just want to know Him more. You want to stay committed to Him. You want to stay focused on Him and not let any distractions around you cause you to do something that you shouldn't do. You need to be like Zacchaeus and always be going out on a limb to seek Him and not just running back to your house. And if Jesus wants to see me, if He wants to do something for me, He'll meet me. No, you pursue Him. You go after Him. Would you stand tonight? I just wonder, do I got one person, and I hope there's more, but do I have one person that will say tonight, it's time for me to pursue God with all of my heart like I've never did in my whole life? I want to pursue Him more now. I want to be after Him harder. I want to have more passion for Him, more commitment to Him than I've ever had in my entire life. Do I have any? I say that's me. I want that to be me. If that's you, I want you to come tonight. That's Patsy's playing just as I am.